yesterday, and they came early today to run through some sets. It's an open.
Let's go.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Let's go.
How is everyone feeling after that unfortunate loss to the Chicago Bulls? A pretty healthy Chicago Bulls. 116, 110. I'm going to share my screen here. We'll talk about this game. There is, of course, a call-in link. This is a call-in show. By all means, call in if you'd like something to say. If you have something to say. Someone in the chat seems to be talking a lot. John, you have some very conclusive ideas about Bruce Brown. He has to go. Personally, I just liked watching a basketball player on my team who knows how to play basketball other than Scottie Barnes. That was really cool. And, you know, Jakob Poeltl not being here. Hey, man, Bruce Brown does a lot of really, really great stuff on the basketball court. Some rumors earlier that he did not want to be here, that he almost blew up the deal. I have no idea whether that's true, but some people are saying it. And, you know, there might be a little bit of a wink deal of, you know, play out a couple of weeks and we'll definitely move you off to the best suitor. But let's see, you know, I think this trade has a lot of Rudy Gay vibes. Y'all remember that little very important trade in Raptors history? Today was interesting. First of all, Vince Carter in the house. A lot of people think he's the greatest Raptor of all time. Then there's DeMar DeRozan in the house on the other team. Some people think he's the greatest Raptor of all time. Kyle Lowry was not there. He was there last night. This feels very, very interesting, romantic. It's like the storybook, you know, We the North era kind of ending, the championship run kind of ending, right? But when things end, things start. And tonight, I think you really saw the start of whatever people have called the Scottie Barnes era in Toronto. And it wasn't great. And then it was really great. And then it was like, not so great. And then it was like, holy crap, where's this been hiding? It was such an interesting game. And there's probably so many things to talk about. And I hope that throughout tonight, we can talk a little bit more thoughtfully about some of the stuff he did on the basketball court, because it's really not stuff that he's been known to do. It's not stuff that many people give him credit for being able to do. It's stuff that maybe most people think it might come, it might not. It probably usually doesn't. And some of the half-court finishing stuff for Scottie tonight was very impressive. Keon, facts. The Raptors shoot above 50% from three. 50% from the field. They shoot 26% from three. They had 14 turnovers. Scottie Barnes had a lot of them. They got out-rebounded. Well, yeah, I wonder why. The Chicago Bulls start Nikola Vucevic. They bring Andre Drummond off the bench. Sum total, those guys played a combined 45 minutes. The Raptors were small throughout most of this game. Probably didn't help matters too much that at one point the Raptors had Scottie Barnes playing center with Gary Trent Jr., Bruce Brown, Dennis Schroder, and Emmanuel Quickley on the court. Like, make it make sense, Darko. I understand the Golden State Warriors death lineup, but this is just dying lineup, you know? And of course, you know, you're undermanned. You're so undermanned. You don't have a backup center really right now. So you're playing what is effectively a 6'11" stretch forward who's still slowly starting to adjust to NBA physicality. And I think had some really promising moments tonight in Jonte Porter. 10 points. It's great. 20 minutes. You're playing Thaddeus Young, obviously heavily out of position. He's about a 6'7", 6'8", you know, older, small forward, combo forward. You know, Thaddeus Young played a lot of small forward and undersized four in his career, right? Undersized five is nice if you're going up against Draymond. But there was no Draymond on the other side. It was just two giant 7-footers who score pretty efficiently around the basket. And I think that was just the difference, right? You get killed a little. I don't want to say you get killed on the glass, but you were just smaller than this team. And being smaller is not a good thing in the NBA. I think Chris Boucher was serviceable. I think he really, really helped. And honestly, Bruce Brown, just man, I hope he stays. He's really good. In terms of the Raptors' other performances, it was bound to happen at some point where you got a bit of a colder night from the New York boys. We just call them the New York boys, Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett. And tonight, I think I didn't have an issue with RJ's game. Just it's sometimes you make shots, sometimes you miss shots, right? And people are going to overreact because it's 1 for 6 from 3, but I don't think that's a big deal at all, right? Still is assertive, still got downhill. I think his defense leaves a lot to be desired sometimes. And when he's not shooting well, you really do feel it, right? Defenses sag off of him anyways. They're not like really running him off the line. He's going to have to work on this. I think some of the attacking downhill stuff, the way he shifts through gaps and, this quick finishes and even some of his off-ball movement has been very impressive to me. And Scottie found him for that dunk late. And I was just like, this is good. Emmanuel Quickley, tough game, man. Like I don't want to say a bad game, but like a bad game. Okay. Like 12 points, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, 3 rebounds. He's got to be better, man. 2 for 7 from 3. There were a lot of disruptive sort of tendencies. There was a lot of bad out of rhythm shots. There was a little bit of bad defense as well. I know he wants to do the right thing. He's trying to do the right thing. He had to adjust to a new role tonight. And that new role was off ball. And this is going to be a real work in progress between him and Scottie in terms of figuring out who does what when. Because right now they have about the same chemistry as water and oil. It's not looking great if you want to talk about it from the perspective of 2 guys who have like a lot of natural synergy. 2 guys who did have a lot of natural synergy tonight were Scottie Barnes and Bruce Brown. So I don't want to read too much into like on-court interactions, but sometimes you can just tell when 2 guys are just on the same page. And Scottie Barnes and Bruce Brown are on the same page. In fact, it was alleged that Masai Ujiri talked about how they were building around Scottie Barnes, and like Bruce Brown immediately was like, "Yep, that's the best idea. That's a great idea. I'm for it. He's a really great player, whatever." I think you just need buy-in, and maybe a performance like this is what you need to get that buy-in. Scottie Barnes goes 11 for 18, 2 for 6 from 3, got that corner to fall, and then he had the above the break one to fall. You could tell he was like kind of pressing a little bit, like just kind of playing heavy. And it was sometime around, say, the second quarter that he just got his legs a little bit, and it was just like he started picking up a little bit more. He got to the line 9 times. This is a very good thing for a player who doesn't get to the line a hell of a lot. And that's been my one big complaint with him this year is he doesn't get to the line enough. For a guy who handled the ball a lot tonight in situations that he usually doesn't handle the ball, he's trying things with the basketball that he usually doesn't. So he's a post-hub guy. Like so far in his NBA career, he's got connective passing. So he's the guy who, Dennis Schroder gets downhill. He passes to Scottie Barnes in the corner. Scottie Barnes either drives out of that, or he's going to drive and then do the short roll, or he's going to be like cutting down the middle and then he's going to reverse the ball. So what I'm saying is like, he's not the guy who generates the advantage, but tonight he was the guy who was asked repeatedly to generate the advantage. And I think he had some mixed results, some very good, some sloppy, some what the hell, some whoa, that's impressive, right? And it's really all over the map. But what I'm really happy about is that all of last year, I felt like I was losing my mind saying the Raptors needed to do this. And it feels like right now the Raptors are doing everything that I wanted them to do last year, but now they're finally doing it. I wanted them to trade Fred. I wanted them to trade Pascal. I wanted them to change coaches. I wanted them to change philosophies in terms of offense. I wanted them to move more towards playing Scottie in the middle of the court. And all of these things were for a reason, not because he would be like the best player in the world at them, but because the sooner you get these reps out, the better. So for instance, he goes in the fourth quarter, there's a couple of late turnovers. one where he stepped out of bounds, but it was a great pass. He just narrowly missed it, right? There's this one where he just shoots it over this guy's head. And it's like, it's just, I want to say it's like 8 inches. Then there's one that he throws to Dennis, and Dennis isn't looking, and it goes out of bounds. There was another turnover where he throws it to Chris Boucher, and Chris Boucher just catches it, and it's out of bounds. I don't know if Chris Boucher got the turnover for that. He definitely should have gotten it. That might have been it. So there's like certain moments in this game where he did that little rip through dribble thing that, like, oh man, that DeMar move on DeMar, that's interesting, right? So I think that tonight overall, like the first quarter was not a great quarter for Scottie. I was very uninspired by his lackluster defense, unassertive offense. Somewhat, you knew from right out of the gate that this was a concerted effort, part of the game plan. We're going to run through him and we're going to live with the results, and everyone else is just going to grin and bear it. And it feels like everyone else was just like, this might not be such a great idea. And you're going to have to get some buy-in on this. You really are. You're going to have to get some buy-in from your team that this is necessary. Dennis Schroder, not a bad game at all. Not a great game at all. Just pretty solid. 7 points in 26 minutes. Bruce Brown, honestly, might be my player of the game. I loved everything about his game tonight. Pace, cutting, off-ball action. I mentioned yesterday, I think in a space, in one of our Twitter spaces, I think he's like a really small, very quick, very muscular Scottie Barnes. Like he just does all the cool stuff that Scottie does. He tries to pick up, but like Florida State Scottie, like infusive energy, like comes off the bench, trying to pick up, trying to get in guys' faces. And yeah, I think he really changed the game. Every time he came into the game got better. Like for the Raptors, weirdly enough, every single bench player, with the exception of Thaddeus Young, was a plus tonight. Let's go figure. Jonte Porter was a plus tonight. So yeah, I think Bruce Brown was a huge catalyst for good stuff. And if you're the Toronto Raptors, maybe Bruce Brown isn't exactly the player you want, but this is a really good demo or prototype for the type of player you want to put around Scottie, which is someone who really reads like the second side action, someone who moves without the basketball, someone who can space the floor. Now, Bruce is not a great shooter. I understand that. Defenses kind of leave him alone, but he is a great transition player. Now, notice something in all three of the players that the Raptors brought in: Jordan Nwora, Kyra Lewis, and Bruce Brown. I feel like all three of them have things in common with RJ Barrett in that they may struggle in a half-court setting, but I think in a full-court setting, they could do some stuff. We'll definitely talk about Kyra Lewis. If the conversation naturally goes there, we'll talk about Kyra Lewis. We'll talk about Jordan Nwora. I had a lot of time today in between all these lives that we're doing to really just look up more about them, to study them a little bit more, look at their analytics a little bit. I watched Jack Armstrong on TSN Overdrive, and he referred to Jordan Nwora and Kyra Lewis as, I think he called them cap filler or salary filler. And it just finds it kind of ironic that when the Knicks traded for Precious Achiuwa, OG Anunoby, and Malachi Flynn, that they said their names. I don't think it's that hot take territory to say Kyra Lewis is a better NBA point guard prospect than Malachi Flynn. And if Darko can make Malachi Flynn that good, then the athletic profile and speed, burst, length of Kyra Lewis, if it ever comes together for the Raptors, what a beautiful, beautiful luxury he would be to have him as a backup point guard. Yeah. Okay, let's bring on Danish. Again, if you got something to say, call in. Is there something else I need to cover here? Yeah, the Chicago Bulls side. I mean, like 24 points, 23 points for Kobe White. DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Kobe White. Alex Caruso drew the matchup of Scottie Barnes tonight. I have often trolled Alex Caruso for how badly Scottie owns him every single game that he plays him. I mean, I don't think the turnovers were on Alex Caruso, to be honest. Like, the Bulls packed the paint inside. They made it really hard for Scottie. He didn't get anything easy. They doubled him quite often, right? So all the people who say like, "Oh my God, what's he gonna do with all that extra attention that Pascal's doing?" Wait till he gets some finishers, man. Wait till he gets better shooters around him. And again, 31, 7, and 6 with 3 steals and 3 blocks is not soft work. Okay. And I think they took a block away. And I definitely think there were a couple of times where he drove to the line where he did not get fouled that he should have gotten. He should have gotten a call. So very easily, like you're talking like he could have had 40 tonight. Very easily. So yeah. In terms of Zach LaVine, he had a tough night. He really did. He did. He also twisted his ankle. Didn't really feel like he was the same after that. I was very impressed with Patrick Williams off the bench. Now, I kind of came into the draft cycle a little bit high on Patrick Williams, but then watching him for 2 years, I kind of sold my Patrick Williams stock. So now I feel like I got to buy some back. He was actually pretty decent. Is he what he wants in free agency decent? No. But certainly I'm now kind of open to if the Raptors were to trade, something like future picks or whatever, would I look at him? Because certainly I don't think that he's in a different class of player than Jonathan Kuminga. So if you're really happy about Kuminga, I don't understand why anyone's not super happy about Patrick Williams. I would assume that playing 32 minutes was kind of surprising to me. But I think he was really solid, very solid overall. Like I think he made like a really positive impact. Yeah. Am I missing anything? What have I not talked about? Yeah, Emmanuel Quickley. Like, I mean, I did touch on him a little bit. I found that his rhythm was disrupted by his off-ball role. Like he just didn't know what to do without the basketball. There were a couple times where he kind of cut into Scottie's space, and like Chris Boucher cuts into Scottie's space. Like, I don't want to say anything too bad about Gary Trent Jr. tonight. He went 0 for 4, and I think a lot of people in the comment section are really bitching about him. And he made this mistake, he made that mistake, and certainly doesn't help to be negative 21. It sucks, in my opinion, to follow up what was pretty much the best night of his year last night and to be such a consistent negative tonight. And I think that if you're a starter in the NBA, you can't have such large and wild fluctuations. You certainly can't be grabbing 2 rebounds and 2 assists in 30 minutes. So I think it's perfectly fair to explore, if you're Darko Rajakovic, starting Bruce Brown. I really think that if you flip their role in minutes tonight, you might win this game. I also think sometimes shooting variance plays a huge part into it. The Raptors got like a lot of clean looks down the stretch. They just didn't make them. And you live and die with that. You're desperately undermanned. You're on the second night of back-to-back, not making all the Matty D and, Alvin Williams excuses. But these things are true, right? Scottie Barnes played 41 minutes tonight. He played 37 minutes tonight. Dude's exhausted. I get it. Yeah. Okay, let's bring on Danish. And again, if anyone else wants to call in, call in. What's going on, Danish? What's up?
Hi, good afternoon or good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Good afternoon. Where the hell are you calling from?
I just came home from work, and since I work in a hospital, I'm used to saying good afternoon, and then so I just kind of blurted it out. I forgot it's like 10:30 at night.
Yeah, for sure.
My bad. But yeah, this game was I really like to watch this game. I think everything from what we talked about or what you talked about the last the live with Sahill, speaking with Bruce Brown, how he'll like fit in really well with the squad, like, and then now seeing seeing this game and how they can just work on each other's wavelength. They can just work with each other really well. So often, even in the fourth, where we gave the ball to Scottie's pulling up, he's at the free throw line. The Bulls send 2 to him, but Bruce is already there right under the basket, and we get a quick pass right there, right for an easy bucket, just like that. And just plays like that. This is already looking more solid than anything Schroder has shown in like the past like couple months. And Bruce has already shown in the first game that he's here. So
legit. Someone was in the spaces today on Twitter, and they were just like, I prefer Dennis Schroder over Bruce Brown. And just while I was hearing them say that,
nah, I know you can't say that.
I was having that Christian Wood, Shaquille O'Neal interaction in my mind. Like, I'm sorry, sir, I was not familiar with your game. Like people sleep on Bruce Brown. I'm not trying to say like he's some great player, but I've listened to a lot of commentary today by some very smart people, including some people who people think are the smartest people in this industry. And I'm sorry, they just don't get it. They just
No,
don't understand like the value of connectors. They don't understand off-ball cutters and like what they can give. Because, and the truth is like, it's like water in a desert, right?
Yeah.
Like it's more valuable than in your bedroom, right? So like we don't have a lot of players who do this instinctively. Like if we had traded Pascal for, let's say, Kevin Herter and Harrison Barnes, you would have seen two players who do this all the time, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So that's my point. Like most teams just take it for granted that their players know how to play basketball. But we've been watching Precious Achua and Chris Boucher for like 2 years now. Our players don't know how to play basketball. They just don't. They don't know where to be sometimes. And so
and they look like duds just trying to figure it out. They're like, should I be here? Do I cut? Do I run? Do I this? Do I that? It's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like just seeing Bruce just, go into the right places, working so well with Scottie. Like even in the last live, we talked about how he's good defensively. He did some work on Zach LaVine in some situations. So yeah, overall, like I love him. It was great. IQ with IQ, yeah. I did see like the little kind of not miscommunication, just kind of like
they're almost like calling at each other.
Yeah.
They're almost calling at each other and they're not seeing each other. They're
Yeah,
trying to like
exactly
communicate,
that.
go
Just
left, right, and they're not seeing each other. So like Scottie will try to set a screen and then IQ would just reject it. And then Scottie will look at him like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
And it's weird.
They're not on the same page. They're just it was obviously okay. It is like the first night off the second night off the back-to-back, right? So like there's a little bit of that, but yeah, they're gonna have to start to learn how to play with each other in that sense. Where like if Scottie's calling for something, like IQ, like you gotta learn what he wants and just kind of do it, and just let Scottie carry it because because like they like the Bulls, like they actually can't deal with him when Scottie's in his flow. Like we saw it like kind of in the beginning of the fourth, like as he's going, he has the ball in his hand. He can either just go to the rim or he's always looking for RJ. He's always looking for Bruce to just give a quick easy bucket, a quick cut. Like they actually can't deal with it. And like and the only thing here was just the 3-point shooting was obviously just not ideal. We had like there's two specific misses from GTJ and IQ.
Did you catch the Gary Trent Jr. under the basket, looks up at the rim?
Oh my god, that one! Oh, I died. I was like, no, man, no. Oh my goodness, please.
It's like, how did he not know how open he was? And then he proceeds to fuck that up. Yeah, that sucked.
And I was like, oh my god, he hesitated. Oh god, it's gone. It's over. The position's gone. But yeah, like, in that scenario, for those two specific misses, I was like, yo, Scottie, like, this is where like you're the superstar. This is where you have to demand the ball in those situations. It's like a minute. It's like I think a minute 37 left, and we're down I think 6 at that time. Where you have to be demanding that ball. You have to be demanding the ball at that point. Like you have to have the ball in your hand. You have to be the one either making the play. You're the best decision maker in this situation. Like you're the only one who's gonna make something out of nothing here. And like just letting GTJ miss a 3 and then IQ miss another 3. I just saw that. I was like, oh my god, I believe this is gonna be a loss.
Yeah. We have a super chat here from Yori San. Hey Rob, thoughts on Masai alluding to leaving soon? I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I could offer you something more in terms of that. I understand the language that he used kind of led people to believe and panic, maybe think too much about it. I don't think that there's anything imminent because he also had language that suggested that he's going to see this through, right? But then there was also like, I don't know, like with or without me. Like this with or without me shit was, I think it has a lot of people perplexed and probably for good reason. But we won't know until we know, right?
100%.
Yeah. The news about Christian Koloko coming out today by Shams Charania
Yeah, that one was yeah, I read that too with the season. I mean, what career-ending blood clotting issue?
Well, it's not career ending, but it's career threatening.
Oh,
And
threatening. Sorry, I didn't say
yeah,
ending.
because there have been players who have had to retire because of this. Chris
Yep,
Bosh comes to
Chris
mind.
Bosh. Everyone knows about him in 2016.
But
Yep.
there are players also who have managed to come back from this. Right?
Yeah.
I believe Brandon Ingram had the same issue. So I think so. I'm 90% sure that it was him. Someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not gonna say anything about this.
Yeah. Chaim Dirks, I'm pretty sure it was someone close to Koloko that gave the info to Shams. Yeah. So I mean, he said that. He said someone very close to Christian would have said this. And I think it's like once you leave the cocoon of the Raptors, and I think, so what I'd heard last week was that he was progressing ahead of schedule, that there was some good stuff happening there. But now I'm realizing I think I understand what may have been going on behind the scenes. I have a feeling that once the Raptors figured this out, that there was no real course back for him to play this year. However, the minute they got the NBA involved with this, it would leak out, right?
Yeah.
So in some sense, like the second, and I'm talking like, I mean, they've protected this secret about him for 7-8 months. This is going right back to summer league, him being held out, maybe even going back to late last year. And knowing that, waiving him was not an option. They were going to play it out. They're going to check the court. They were going to check with the specialist, whatever. And then knowing that the second he was either included in a trade, that he would fail his physical. If he was waived, he would fail to clear waivers. And, kind of just knowing that, the empathy side of Masai probably kicked in of like, hey man, like this is a scary thing for a young athlete. Maybe he needs his brothers right now. This is a devastating loss for the Raptors because, and some people out there might be like, what are you talking about, Rob? Devastating loss. He hasn't played. I tell you what, healthy Christian Koloko plays tonight, you win this game. 100%.
100%. He was like all the flashes that he's shown would have been so like useful here, especially in the first quarter when we're playing super small and they're just going to the rim like on repeat. That's like, this is what Andre Drummond's like best game of the past 10 games or something. I don't even know. I didn't check it on that. But yeah, like it's.
Any final thoughts, Danish?
I do have some other thoughts, but I think I'll just leave it for other guys to kind of go into. But yeah.
Can you hint at what topics you were going to discuss? Hello?
Yeah. I was gonna say more of just like having Scottie just kind of go forward to just keep demanding the ball. I was gonna go back to the 1 minute 37, but yeah, I think I'm good. I think.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
Thanks for the combo. Bye.
Yep. We have Alam.
Alam? Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great. That's a really cool setup you have.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to the streaming world. I found my footing in this probably back in July. So I found your channel recently, actually, and I'm like, this looks like a really awesome community. I'm gonna tap in.
That's awesome, man. Well, what'd you think of the game tonight?
Ups and downs. I think just generally like people are scratching and clawing to look for good feelings because they either don't feel good about the Siakam situation or they don't feel good about the Masai press conference, and they don't feel good about some of the things that happened on the court today. But honestly, I just think like the way we shot the ball yesterday, a shooting day like today was bound to happen. I'm not really stressing too tough. I like what I saw with certain pieces. Honestly, like I'm looking at the team and I think I see a little bit more optimism from an asset management standpoint. I'm not really like stressing again too hard about the basketball court. I understand that like things are going to happen. People are going to miss shots. That's the game. But I look at Bruce Brown and I look at the fact that he's a player that's ready to contribute right now, ready to play winning basketball. He's basically on a deal that's 2 years of being an expiring deal. He can be an expiring deal this year if you want him to be. With rejecting a team option, you can accept the team option and he's an expiring deal next year. With the value he has on the court, with that contract at the price point that it's at, that's an asset aside from what he is on the court. So I look at that and I'm thinking there's value to be gotten there. However you feel about Bruce Brown as a basketball player, that's somebody who we should be able to turn into a good asset, if not just have him on the team being a productive player. I
think he is a good asset.
Exactly. And I think like there's a lot of belittling of what we've got in the trade. And I understand of people's skepticism about the picks that we have in the 20s with the way we're drafting. But I just think that like we have to also accept the fact that part of the reason why we don't have a good drafting history in the last 7 years is because we're picking guys in the 40s and 50s. If you look at
7 years.
Yep. So I'm using, I think, the OG pick of 2017 up to this year. And if you look at the history, Scottie is the pick that people are going to look at and say that's the home run. But you got 259th overall picks with Jalen Harris and DeJuan Hernandez, 46th and 47th overall with David Johnson, Delano Banton, just a bunch of picks that people aren't fans of, obviously, but those ones are late picks. Scottie Barnes,
those almost rarely ever work out. There's like, if you look at NBA draft history, in most drafts, you'd be lucky to find 2 to 3 good role players. 30 picks. It's a 1 in 10 shot.
When you get to the 40s, if that guy makes it to a second contract, that's a hit.
I agree. And you know what? Delano Banton's still in the league.
Yep, he's still in the league. So again, you look at those picks. Malachi Flynn is obviously a pick that people hate. I understand. And the jury's still out on Grady. And obviously with Koloko, you can't really judge that pick. So part of the reason why I think people have a lot of anxiety about our recent draft history is honestly just because we actually haven't had that many picks you can fairly judge. Like I said, I don't think it's fair to judge 59th overall picks. It's obviously not fair to judge Grady or Koloko at this point. But I just think, we have draft picks now. I think Masai's made mistakes he's going to learn from. I think a lot of people, again, are just consumed with a lot of bad decisions that have happened that people are frustrated with. But he has a history of good stuff. He has a little run of bad stuff. The slate is clean. I think he deserves an opportunity to show over the next 2 years what his plan is. I think he had an ambitious project trying to develop talent while winning. I think he attempted to play an unorthodox style of basketball. It didn't work. And I think people are allowed to be ambitious and fail, provided that you learn from your mistakes and come up with a better plan the second time around. And I think that's what this is. This is the second time around. We're not building anything close to Vision 6-9 anymore, because Emmanuel Quickley is not Vision 6-9. So, we're shooting for something different. I want to see how it turns out. I'm not necessarily as, thirsty to see it happen immediately. I understand that. I think we need some time. We need some patience. So we'll see what happens. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we make a move to add talent at some point in either before the deadline or in July. If you just look at it from like a logical standpoint, if you look at the 31st overall pick as a first round pick, we have 6 first round picks in the next 3 years. Does it make sense to make all those picks? Probably not, right? Even just from like a roster management standpoint. So we're going to aggregate the young assets at some point, right? So a move is probably coming. Let's just see what that is.
Okay. What's the biggest hole in this team that you can see? Is it like, there's so many things. You said so many things. Like, certainly we could look at the expirings, they call it dead weight. I love Otto, but like dead weight expirings like Otto and Thad. And you can certainly look at serviceable guys on short-term deals like Chris Boucher and Dennis Schroder. Like, these guys hold value around the league. Yeah. There are teams out there that certainly have players that are worse than these guys, or at least younger than these guys, that would happily jump on these guys plus a pick. Plus, in 3 weeks, the beauty of doing this deal now is you now have 3 weeks to field offers.
Yep.
And to aggressively start to get that talk going towards the deadline of like, what is the value of Chris Boucher around the league right now? And there is there's no necessary consideration to, are we screwing over our championship core by not giving them a chance to compete? You know what I mean? Right. But at the same time, you don't want to lose. Like, you do want to make the play-in, and you may not be necessarily in a rush to do it, but I think Scottie might be in a rush to do it. And the sooner you get these guys like into the playoffs and you get the reps, number one, you get the information. Number two, you kickstart the process of making it normal to get there. And it's never going to be like, I know like some people have this idea that, you know, next year you're just going to add something, or Scottie's going to take another step, and RJ's and IQ's going to take another step. And then you're just going to go to playoffs and run the table on everybody or make it like to the conference finals.
Right.
Rarely, ever, you know? Yep. It's usually like I'm not saying it's always as painful as the Raptors We the North era. Like you get busted in the first round despite having home court advantage, then you take the scar, and then you get a championship 6 years later.
Yeah.
But almost the greatest predictor of success in the playoffs is failure in the playoffs. You know, you take like the hallmarks of a championship, it's 4 things: playoff experience, top 10 defense, top 5 offense, superstar. So I feel like the Raptors are timing out a lot of these pieces. And as much as I think like Scottie and IQ tonight had like the chemistry of water and oil,
right?
Unlike Scottie and Fred, who also sometimes had the chemistry of water and oil, right. I trust Emmanuel Quickley to figure it out. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, man?
No, it's just that I like what you said about trying to make trying to at least trying to win and start a process that feels regular. I think trying to be good and failing is like troubleshooting in the project in a way. Like you're attempting to do something, you see it fail, you've learned what needs to be fixed, and then you go at it. I think a part of our part of what built our championship team is troubleshooting what went wrong. We had a team that got swept by the Wizards. We realized we need perimeter defense. We made a push for that. We realized we needed a better superstar scorer. We made a push for that. You troubleshoot the problems as they arise when you're trying. So I understand that part of things, but yeah, that's all, man. Like, I just wanted to maybe give some people some optimism after a game like this. I know it's pretty frustrating, but we'll be fine. And I'll be back.
All right, man. Take care. See ya.
Take it easy.
Florian, what's up?
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Was happy get us quite a bit of Raptors basketball on the back-to-back, you know, see the new team.
You have exactly the same happy face as I do.
Yeah.
Stone.
Look,
are you good? Are you good at poker?
I don't play enough to be good at it, you know.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I don't know the bets for that. But yeah,
I mean, it's funny because I started yesterday's live with so much energy. I was like, woo, like I was doing the Ric Flair shit. And today I was just like, okay, like I'm very, very happy about how Scottie Barnes played overall. Like 6 turnovers aside, I don't give a shit less, like personally. But overall, I can't be super happy that the Raptors lost this game. What are your takeaways from this game? What'd you see? What'd you like? What'd you not like?
I mean, look, one thing, I don't know if you mentioned it yet. This game was a TNT game, right? This was nationally right? Nationally televised. And I mean, Charles Barkley said, you know, I saw a quote on Instagram just now, like, look, this is Raptors v Bulls, but, you know, watch anyway. And I think that viewers got something to see. They saw Scottie, you know, with the rip through the and ones, you know, a couple threes, the playmaking, just the orchestrating on offense, and then exciting, you know, defensive plays as well. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, of course, 6 turnovers and, you know, slipped out of his hands at the end, or out of their hands. But I think he put on a show and, you know, let people know that he's that guy.
He has stage presence, you know. He did this against Wemby as well, right? So there was like that notion of like, hey, NBA app, everyone's watching Wembanyama right now. It's game 7 of the season. This is a game that's going to be streamed to like 192 countries. I have a feeling at least half the people who watched that game had no idea who Scottie Barnes was, which was very impressive. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who watched the game tonight didn't know who Scottie Barnes was. And they better know now. This is a really great thing for him. And I've noticed this more and more now, where I don't know if you noticed this last year, where he would drive and then he would turn his back to the defender to protect the ball. And he would sort of bump, and then he would do like some sort of flick shot. But it wasn't a clean drive. It didn't go like, I start at the top, I manipulate, and then I go straight down the middle. You know, unless the defense really misread it and he got an open dunk. There wasn't like that blow by thing that you were seeing with Siakam, right? And even with Siakam, I think it's fair to say it wasn't always clean. Like there was a lot of like twirling and falling out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Giannis like, you know. Tonight it felt like impressive.
And it got him to the line. It gets him to the line a lot more. You know, I think since the OG trade, he has gone to the line more consistently than he has previously during the season. And of course, last year, like you said, with, you know, turning your back to your defender, you know, it's tougher to get draw a foul that way.
Yeah. So TNT commentators say VC and Grant Hill compared Scottie to LeBron, said he'd be a superstar. So funny enough, I always believe in influencing the influencers. I have this idea in my head that I'm not large enough to influence. So maybe I shouldn't have bit this. I make sure that Vince Carter knows a lot about Scottie Barnes. I keep him very up to date on Scottie Barnes. Like he sees a lot of my posts on Scottie Barnes, comparing him to Scottie, the passing of the torch and stuff like that. So he's gotten to know a lot more about Scottie Barnes through looking at Pensar basketball stories, which is
wait, he looks at your stuff?
Yes.
Damn, okay. I didn't know that. That's sick.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't have admitted that. Fuck. So I just think that it's really, really cool that that's coming to fruition, because I also felt a little bit of pressure when he was here. I was like, man, Scottie better not put up like 4 points. He's gonna think like we're the stupidest channel in the world. But anyways, it's a really great thing. I love Vince because he loves basketball. Like he loves basketball. He's always like curious about basketball, curious about the next generation, and he's also generous about basketball, like in the sense that he always gives like props to the next generation.
Yeah,
he doesn't try to spite them. Yeah, he like, you know, like imagine like how, okay, so the TNT crew, that TNT feed goes into Florida. That's Scottie's hometown. They're watching the boy. He's going to be the next LeBron. I bet you anything. I turn on my Facebook. It's going to be like 100 people from West Palm Beach and shit. And they're going to be like, oh my God, you know, like what a big moment. And of course, you know, you want the win, you want the 30 points, but try to understand, like, this is a 22-year-old ascending superstar. And, you know, he really did. He did LeBron shit today. Like, I'm not trying to like cap. Like, I watched a lot of LeBron when I was younger. He did do like LeBron shit today. So yeah, it was really, really great to see. Yeah, it was great to watch. What do you think?
Otherwise, Bruce Brown, I felt, you know, he fit in really nicely. It's I think there was a reason he was, you know, on the floor today and Jordan Nwora wasn't, for example. I was like, well, maybe he'll see the floor. But Bruce Brown, you know, great winning guy. I feel, you know, he's one of those very portable players that you can just kind of bring off the bench and he'll find meaningful ways to contribute. Of course, on the defensive side of the ball, it's, you know, of course, shot making was nice today from him, and just the vision. Another great passer to have out there. Well, maybe not great, but, you know, very capable passer. So that was great to see. Yeah.
I think Bruce just like has natural synergy, and someone compared him to OG, like not a very literal comparison, but like he looked like he'd been playing in this offense for 4 years, and half the people who've been playing in this offense for 4 years look like they just got here yesterday. Right.
Yeah, true.
Like, so I think if you're smart, you're smart. I think the Raptors have to make a concerted effort to get super high IQ basketball players. I think they tried for a really long time to just get athletic wings. I think part of that was that they were trying to develop this sort of asset factory as opposed to a basketball team, you know?
Okay, yeah, I see.
Basketball teams are like chessboards and chess pieces. Like, you need a diverse range of bishops, and, you know, how bad would your position be as a chess player if you had 4 black square bishops as your only pieces? You'd be terrible. I can't even imagine how bad a chess game that would be, especially if you were going up against, I don't know, even 1 rook, a knight, and a white square bishop. You'd be fucked. Like, everything would be jammed up. You'd always be in each other's way. And that's I think, weirdly enough, a pretty good analogy for how the Raptors have felt to me. You know, even Siakam and Barnes, like, as much as, yes, they can play together, there's so much that has to go around them for it to work. optimally, right? And so, yeah, like I'm looking forward to seeing this next iteration of the Raptors. I'm not sure if they'll be super successful, but this would not surprise me if this team ran 8-2 for a 10-game stretch. Not at all.
Do you think that maybe, that this effortless fit that Bruce Brown has, showcased in his first game, I think it's part to the systems he's been playing with over the last couple of years, and there may be some similarities with, say, like Jokic, Scottie, advantage generation in the post. That
100%. 100%. And I mean, also it's a cart and horse argument, because on the one hand, there's a reason he was there too, right? Like they brought him in to those situations knowing exactly who he was as a basketball player. So the Raptors bringing him in right now. And I mean, I don't buy this bullshit about like, oh, well, he's 27, so he's not on Scottie's timeline. We don't need to have a whole bunch of 19-year-olds on Scottie's timeline. We were very willing to keep OG. He was 26. I think if Bruce Brown wants to be here, I'm happy to have him forever. He is like really, really genuinely one of my favorite role players in the NBA. He does so many good things. And I know that Raptor fans maybe it's a toxic trait right now that I listen to too many of these Twitter spaces. I should probably stop. But I do because I'm curious to know how to adjust my talking points, right? Like what's out there that I need to counter with this, and it can get a little bit dangerous, because then you're making your entire content creation reactionary.
Right.
So I'm trying to like balance it out by saying like, what gaps are out there? So when I heard someone say like Kira Lewis, like the 2nd round pick bum, and I'm just like, okay, note to self, do Kira Lewis scouting video at some point next week, things of that nature. So like try to address the blind spots. Even when, like Christian Koloko was kind of coming up last year, I made a Christian Koloko profile video because someone was just like, he's just Clint Capella, because that was his draft comparison. Clint Capella. Oh yeah, tall African guy, makes sense. Clint Capella. But I'm just like, no. He's so much more than that. Like, look at the short roll passing. Look at this. So it's just like, it's trying to understand like where the common fan's mind is, and then trying to inch it 1 inch towards the right direction. So
I think it's also like, you're trying to fill some knowledge gaps. You're trying to see like where Raptors fans' knowledge, might be lacking, and average fan doesn't spend the time that you do on this, right? And
can you tell from my face? Yeah. My girlfriend was looking at me and she was like, "Can you promise me that after this live you're gonna go to sleep?" And I was just
Please, Rob, please do.
I cannot promise that. I will try. But the unfortunate thing is sometimes when I do these lives, I have to drink coffee, and then when I drink the coffee, then I'm wide awake after I do the live. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But if I didn't drink the coffee, I would have fallen asleep on air. So yeah. Anyways, I would love to keep him. I understand he's an asset. I understand someone would probably be willing to give you a first-round pick for him or whatever. But what if you keep him and then you take two of these pieces that don't fit, right? Not naming names, but probably Chris Boucher and probably Gary Trent, or maybe not Gary Trent. Maybe it's Chris Boucher and Zad, or it's somebody taking, or Schroder. I don't really care, to be honest. Like, I think Schroder can play within a functional offense, but two pieces that result in a net of about 20 million, and then you package like a couple of picks to it. Can you get something incredible for that fits Scottie's timeline, that long term puts you in an advantageous situation? Or
you're pushing for Lowry, huh? You've mentioned him a couple of times, these last couple of lives. I can see it. It's on the tip of your tongue.
I would, yeah. I think he just fits so well. And the amount of space that you would generate on the court, can you imagine this?
Yeah, no, it's
okay. You have RJ and Scottie who just drive, right? And both can space, and Scottie can do a lot of stuff at the top, and RJ can space the corners, okay? And then you put Larry Markkinen, right? And Emmanuel Quickley on the court together. And then give Scottie these wide-ass lanes. And then on the other side, you have Mr. Utility, point guard / center, Bruce Brown, just doing everything on the court. Offensive rebounding, screening, everything. Like, this is the coolest team on earth. Scottie, like,
it is a fun team.
Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, Bruce Brown at the 4, so a small 4. You might be a little bit rebound inclined. Like, you might lose some battles on the rebound, but I feel like what you would make up in terms of like your transition offense with those 5 players, Emmanuel Quickley's whoa, like oh my god, and there's no dummies on the court. Like there's no dumbasses on the court at all. Everyone's super smart. You might like get like a 145 offensive rating with that lineup. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I
mean, look, I felt that the lineup that we had out there in the fourth was RJ, Bruce Brown, IQ, Scottie, and was one more. I forget who it was, but for a large part of the fourth, before Dennis came in for RJ, something like that.
Say it again.
It was RJ, IQ. It was probably Gary. It was Gary, RJ, IQ, Bruce Brown, and Scottie. Scottie at the 5, right?
Sure, yeah.
I felt that lineup, looked all right. I was like impressed defensively at times, like the switching that was able to go on the perimeter, but then obviously the interior with only Scottie really coming from the weak side, wouldn't always be able to handle everything or clean everything up.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't know. I'd be worried at that lineup. I'd be worried a little bit about rim defense as well in transition. And transition threes and just overall spacing, even in the half court as well, would be amazing. But I think this player type that you were pushing for, that we as this community were looking for in return for Pascal, this point of attack stopper that is has good size on him, more than Bruce Brown, although Bruce Brown definitely plays with size. I want an archetype player like that, So
right,
yeah, that's what I was looking for. But I definitely see the vision on that. And
I think like too much we have thought like almost exclusively about defense, and like I feel like defense is like if I was coaching a team, I would be the same way, but I'm not coaching a team in the NBA, and offense wins in the NBA. Like it really does. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to defend, obviously, or that you shouldn't be able to be competent in your coverages, but like offense at the expense of defense, like if that like players who don't defend overly well, like Trae Young or Tyrese Halliburton, they still play majority minutes. Sometimes
max contracts,
super max contracts, and sometimes in positive defensive lineups. Like there are things that you can do to competently defend as a team with one bad defender, but I think it's the equation becomes what's easier to hide, a really bad offensive player or a really bad defensive player.
Yeah,
and I'm not really sure at this point, but I have a feeling the really bad defensive player might be easier to hide.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I've gone back and forth on this because like a couple of years ago, I would have definitely said the bad offensive player is easier to hide. You just use him as a cutter and like try to get him as a screener. But like screen setting is not just something everyone can do, But also like the good thing about the Raptors, he's like I think the person before, I'm pretty sure said like Vision 6'9" is dead, right? Weirdly enough, Emmanuel Quickley is like a lot bigger than his 6'2". Like he does a lot of cool stuff that 6'6", 6'7" guys do. For instance, like he's a really good screener, super solid, like positional defense and help defense. Not the greatest point of attack defender, but like getting better potentially, and also like a pretty competent rebounder. Like you're not playing like you're not small. I feel like the Raptors should never have like a player who can't rebound on the basketball court. Because like in a transition offense, you just really genuinely want to have someone who has a good nose for the basketball. And I don't know. I think there's a lot to discuss, but yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to get your thoughts before I leave on RJ. RJ's game tonight and his game yesterday. What I noticed in yesterday's game is that at times, especially when Quickley would have the ball, be jogging up the court, he'd want it, he'd clap for it. And he wanted his touch, basically. He wanted to go at someone and drive and etc. And then he looked him off a couple times. Quickley did, and in place of I think a Scottie post up, which was an advantageous. It was advantage generating and ended up getting RJ a layup, right? So and this time around, I thought that this issue with RJ that. He's a high usage guy. You can see, I feel he's the type of player who, when the team's winning, he's got to be one of the reasons that the team is winning. He needs to feel that way. He's got to be part of it. He's got to have, he's got to be in double digits going on 20, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? You want to be part of winning. You want to have like someone who wants to win on a team and contribute to that.
Right.
But sometimes it can get in the way, of the game plan. And so what I saw this game, and, I noticed that Darko has been doing this for a while now, is, just running RJ with the bench a little bit, getting him his touches there. I think it was in the second quarter this time where RJ had a run where he was attacking constantly, going downhill. And he was literally, like, what do you call it? Like an outlet, for, you give him the ball and boom, all of a sudden he's in the paint and he drew a foul against Caruso. Right. And I think that's, it's a good solution to, get him his touches there. So he gets his numbers, he gets his usage. So he doesn't disturb the rhythm that the starting lineup's got going, that, Scottie can generate for you. So, yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. I see him as a guy who's here and probably here for a while, given how Masai was talking about, young RJ coming up to him and stuff. So he's going to be here, and he's on a contract that certain executives around the league, view as toxic. And once that reporting is out there, you get the feeling that, okay, you're probably stuck with this contract. Okay. Regardless of how many hot shooting games he has, the reputation is the reputation at this point with RJ Barrett, right? And the reputation is not good. The reputation is, he's a guy who takes a lot of dumb shots. He's a guy who gets tunnel vision. He's a guy who doesn't play very good defense, very inconsistent shooter, not a very dynamic passer, not an overly great finisher. I mean, you'd think I'm describing like the worst basketball player in the world, but he's got a lot of talent. Just hasn't been able to harness it, which is interesting because I actually, completely different stories, but I would describe Kyra Lewis the same way.
Okay.
Downhill athlete, super interesting, really great one-on-one player, really promising college tape, very good athletic profile, a lot of skill, great footwork, advanced, shot creation abilities. Never really put it together. Doesn't know how to put it together. So transition offenses can, in theory, mask some of the indecision that you have, speed up your decision making. Point by basketball, in theory, is how Darko wants to play, but it's also really how Darko wants to teach the game of basketball. You're teaching, decision making, and if every single player exits the season 10% smarter, then you're good. And so you're banking on,
I see that as well with RJ.
Yeah, so you're rehabilitating the value of a player that maybe didn't have a tremendous amount of value coming into this deal. And it's just smart asset management. Now, to the specific point of does he want to be a high usage guy? Well, he has been a pretty high usage guy his whole career. Even with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, he still somehow found a way to be a 25 to 27% usage guy. And personally, that's probably a good thing for Scottie. Scottie wants to win. RJ will hijack this offense if he lets him. So will Emmanuel Quickley, for fuck's sake, And I know that some people, not you, but some people have this notion of, well, you just got to put 4 Bruce Browns around Scottie Barnes, right? People who are just like, they don't want any of it, right? Thaddeus Young, Bruce Brown, like, who else like this? Jeff Doughton and Jakob Poeltl, right? Like, put those 4 players around Scottie Barnes and let him go to work. And it's just like, but that's a very predictable offense, and it's not going to be as good as people want it to be. You need to have multiple threats, and I, for one thing, Scottie's happy to share. I'm sure Scottie would be very, very happy for RJ if he scored 25 points per game very efficiently next year, even if Scottie scored 23, because Scottie's going to do all this other stuff that, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Nikola Jokic had this really brilliant quote the other day, and I encourage anyone to go search it up. But I think it might have been in Serbian. I can't remember where I read it, but he was talking about like this disparity of like, how does he score 40 points one game and 4 points the next game? And he was just like, look, like there's this idea in the NBA that superstars are supposed to take the most shots. He's like, but I'm always going to stay true to the fact that if I'm getting doubled and triple teamed, someone is open. And that's just smart offense. And to not make that pass because I have to satisfy some, ridiculous notion of, oh, I don't want to answer questions about why I had 4 points. He's like, sometimes we'll lose that game. And at that point, people will really, really say, like, what the hell? He's like, but I'm just more obsessed about the process of offense, And so if every single time Scottie driving downhill is generating like a gap in defense that if he passes out to RJ, he can do that. Well, then being able to occasionally reverse that action on the other side of the floor is only going to make Scottie's life a lot easier too. The whole point of like having 4 guys out there with the guy that you want to score is that everyone becomes more efficient, right? And that's where like lineup synergies come in. So if RJ isn't himself, like I want him to be himself,
Yeah, I mean, look, you mentioned the toxic asset, and I think when we traded for RJ, everyone, at least I was like, okay, well, where's this variance coming? Like, when is it here? When is it here? And I guess, so my comments were a little bit, in reaction, in anticipation to his reputation, if that makes sense. But no, I definitely see the multiple threats argument. And look, toxic asset, I mean, I don't know. I would argue that with the way he's been playing since his time here, I feel like this contract it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to really, you've got this guy locked up for 3-4 years, and this could be this could be the exact opposite of a toxic asset. 2 years, 1 year down the road. And I think that's promising, and I believe in Darko to convey on that, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. I think this is just it's really about the process of building up players. And everyone has this idea of like what player fits with what player, and I'm just like, yo, like there's no guarantee that RJ Barrett's going to be here the next time you win a championship, right? None at all. Like, but if you develop him, build up his confidence, you also have to like get a player to buy in to what you're doing. And if they're going counter to the way they want to play basketball, like if you're going to ask a player who just desperately wants to be on ball, right? And you can't meet them on their demand to play on ball, and that's where they think their strength is, right? And you'll be like, nope, need you to be a bird cutter on this play. Nope, I'm going to need you to set screens. You're never going to have the ball in your hands. Like, you know what I mean? I want to limit your usage. Well, then that player may just not quite take you so seriously. And so I think like I'll give it time. And like slowly, I believe like Darko will be able to like tweak, to like, hey, RJ, we would love for you to be like assertive, but we're going to need you to look for Scottie a little bit more at the top before you initiate. We want to run this play for you, whatever. It'll be easier to dial it back. I like that he's really aggressive. It has usually been a very good thing for the Raptors. And sometimes when it's not a good thing for the Raptors, I feel like there's also mistakes that Darko can correct in that aggression. But probably easier to dial back his aggression than dial up someone else's, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks a lot for calling in, Florian. Always a great conversation. Call it anytime, man. Cheers.
Thank you, Rob. See you. Have a good one.
Have a good night. Sahill, what's up? Your mic is off, dude.
What's up, man? I had a good time watching the Raptors. I went back and I rewatched yesterday's game, and I caught all of today's game. And Darko ball is fun, man.
It is.
Darko ball is fun. There were some of those possessions today where it was ping, 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 swing, swing, cut, cut. It was really some pretty possessions. And that, by the way, is my big thing. I know you're a bit annoyed with Dennis right now, but yeah,
Sure.
I know. I get it. But his ability to be a quick decision maker out on the perimeter is so nice, and I feel like he always makes that right read and that right swing pass.
I promise you, the 2 games you watched are the only 2 games all season that he's actually done that. I promise.
It's funny. I mean, he was good at that last year for us.
Yeah, because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, so he has to do that for you. But with us, he's been like a little bit different. Now, I've had no issues with Dennis the last 2 games, and if you look at like my post game live yesterday, I was like, Dennis was great. Tonight, no complaints about Dennis. I'm like, okay game. So yeah, but when he does like his ball holding, serving, dribbling around, going one-on-one, like today you could see like his brain went into it and he's like, no, let me reset it. It was good.
Let me behave.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here to talk about it. Yeah, look at Scottie Barnes, man. Look at Scottie Barnes. So one thing quick. Out of the 6 turnovers, I would say 3 of them were very much 50-50 balls that you could expect to pretty much go away next game. Like, if they were to redo this game, 3 of those probably wouldn't have happened. Some of them were like the deflected passes, and then the one that was really annoying was the one that Caruso got hit in the backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really, like, that's... I think he thought Gary Trent was coming to collect, and I think Gary Trent was running down the court. It might have been him or Dennis, but
yeah,
that happens. Like, whatever. And another one, like the slight quarter of a foot out of bounds.
Yeah,
that's also really not going to be out of bounds. Like, come on. Like, in the next time you play this game, assume he doesn't do that singular inch out of bounds. So
yeah.
And then one of them bounced off his foot. So to me, I can call it 3 or 4 bad turnovers. And that too, they weren't horrible attempts. Like, I loved his attempts to throw the full court passes. I do have some issues with his delivery. I don't like that he throws them up still, and he doesn't utilize the 6'8", 6'9" frame and throw them down.
Yeah, I've had issues all year with his passing accuracy. Like, it hasn't been the greatest. He's had like a couple of like, whoa. But the cool thing about Scottie is he sees everything.
Yeah. And so, again, we talked about this last time with young players. Yep. It's all about...
You want to hear what
yes.
you want to hear what Bruce Brown's had to say about him?
I did see. But yes, play it. Go for it.
Okay.
Scottie Barnes, a dog speaking to reporters for the first time. Check out the video.
Scottie is a dog. Yeah, Scottie's a dog. He's a top-tier superstar in this league. Can do everything. I mean, last year he didn't shoot the ball well. This year, you got to respect it. And he gets anywhere he wants, and he can guard 1 through 5. So, yeah, I think he's a superstar. He wasn't. So MPJ hit me, his brother, on Instagram. It was like, congrats, and I was like, I looked at the available numbers, and I never wore any of those in my life. So I was like, I make enough to try to bribe him a little bit. So I asked MPJ if Jonte would give it up. He reached out, and Jonte said yeah. So I was in Sac when I got the phone call.
These captions are all wrong.
Yeah,
I was in Sac, not Sec. Okay.
Yeah, I bet they use the.
So I had to take my stuff off, go to my room, pack up. Fly to Indy last night, got in at like 1. And then I had a flight this morning, got here at like 12, 1 o'clock, and then do all the physicals and stuff. So I was on the move all day. I didn't even know I was gonna play today, but they asked me, I was ready.
Dope. Also,
yeah, really cool.
Mel, quote, face of the league, they still laughing until he actually does something. Rookie of the year is not enough. Oh boy, there was this guy on Twitter Spaces, Mazak or Coach Mazak or some idiot like that, and this guy was just like, Scottie Barnes can't score in the half court.
I was there when you were talking about that. I remember.
Oh my god, that motherfucker! It's like how, like, yo, like honestly, it's like LeBron haters drive me insane because they're just like, but he failed this many times in finals, and it's like he also got there that many times, bro. It's like when you dislike a player, you just go right at the one thing you don't like about that player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in fact, I think as soon as he said some stuff he shouldn't have said, you dipped out, and afterwards they muted him up and got him right out of it. He was, I don't know what that guy was on. I think he really just dislikes Scottie Barnes for some reason.
He really does.
Yeah, he really does.
He gets so angry, and then he hates me too. He's just like, you're in your mom's basement, 35 years old in your mom's basement. I'm like, I'm 36. My mom's been dead for 16 years. I mean, come on, man.
Sorry about that. But one of the things I do want to talk about is, how do you feel about Scottie's defense?
Mixed bag. This first half was awful. Not first half, like first quarter was horrible. Lot of like really lazy closeouts, lazy box outs, botched rotation.
Yep.
Didn't really even attempt to box out a couple of those boards. Like, he was right there. He's clearly the guy who can actually go and get it. And if he just tips his hand on it, those massive hands, they probably get it. Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. I don't want to make excuses because certainly, like, I've made a lot of excuses for OG in the past. I've made a lot of excuses for Pascal in the past. But I do believe these players are human, and I think he's processing a lot of new information. He's basically playing with a new team right now. Bruce Brown, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett. Who the fuck? Like, where? Jonte Porter? None of these players were on this team last month. None.
True.
Right? Like, you flashed to December, or what are we at? We're at January 18th.
18th.
December 18th, the concept of I am playing with Emmanuel, like, none of these guys were on this team. So like, I appreciate that he's trying his best, but I also appreciate this is a completely new opportunity for him and a new role for him. He's never had this. And no matter how many points he's put up, the way he's putting it up right now. Now, I thought of you quite a few times during the game because I was just like, I wonder what Sahill's going to say about his initiation potential after this game, because he did a lot of it tonight. By the way, he literally, this might be, hold on. He might have initiated more in the first half. Oh, I think we lost him for a second. He might have initiated more offense in the first half than he's done in any single game of his life. It's possible, especially the second half. Like, he's had quarters where, you know, they'll space him out and they'll be like straight line driving and shit, but not like, okay, reset the ball. He's going to run the pick and roll. He's going to reverse the action, and he's going to be up. He's going to be popping up. Like, this is superstar shit. So
yeah,
like,
it is.
Like what I just watched was a superstar for one game. Now, what I've been watching all year is like an all-star, all NBA guy who has like a lot of impact in a lot of different areas, and is basically just like a really, really good player who's just piecing it together. Like, it's almost like he's cheating. You know what I mean? So it's like the offense is not quite superstar level, but it's not, sorry, like, he's like a all-star by committee almost. Like, for most of the year, he's like an all-star by committee. So it's like the offense is not quite good as these all-stars, like the Donovan Mitchells and, you know, the DeMontis Sabonises of the world. But it's like, but he's making up for it on defense. And then maybe like the defense and the offense combined are not good enough. So he's making up for it on low usage, high efficiency playmaking. So it's like somehow he's just like winning all these margins. But to do it this way, you know, where you're basically like, okay, spread the defense out, whether it's Vucevic or, I mean, Caruso, he drew one of the best defenders, in my opinion, in the league.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, and he's going into size at the rim. Well, and the Bulls are a good defense.
Yeah,
you know,
they've been for a while.
So to be able to do this against them, it's like, what chance does Washington have? You know, right?
Is that who you guys have next, right, on Saturday?
I don't know who we have next. I can't think off the top of my head.
New York.
Talk about good defenses. Yeah. So I mean, but in New York, is it in New York? I think it's in New York.
So. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Recruiter dude, the test for this fan base will be, now that we got what we wanted and pick a direction, are we going to keep up the level head and watch this team struggle just to make plan? I don't really understand this question, recruiter dude. And you don't have to super chat again. I really appreciate the super chat, but if you want to clarify that, I would love for you to clarify this. Let me try to read this again.
I think what he's going for is will the fan base be patient when they're making the plan, or are they going to blow it up again? I guess. I mean, I think his concern was that's what you guys did with Pascal and that OG crew, but it's a different age timeline is, I guess, what my response would be, at least.
The test of this fantasy will now be, now that we got what we wanted and picked the direction, are we going to keep a level head watching this team struggle just to make the plan? Oh, I get what you're saying. Sorry. I mean, my brain is fried because of a lack of sleep. I get it. I think that if the team is young enough and the pieces are young enough and the growth is clear and the path is clear and it's all consistent and the pieces make sense together, then I think most people intuitively will be like, yeah, this makes sense. But if you, trade multiple assets, multiple future assets, double down on a center who can't shoot from the San Antonio Spurs, and then fail to make the plan, yeah, expect for a really toxic summer. It's a completely different process though. And I'm not always saying like, okay, the guys are 22 and they suck, so it's okay. I don't think the Raptors suck. I think today was a very competitive game. Down your only center, really in Jakob Poeltl. I think if you have Jakob Poeltl, you probably win this game because you don't get killed on the glass. You have better playmaking. You have better play
The
finishing.
exact margin that I considered it by would be, I think you guys win this game by 8.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Keon saying, how much sleep have you gotten in the last 48 hours? 6 hours.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, it's been
It's not
tough.
good, man.
So
That's not good. But what I wanted to, sorry, go for it. What were you say?
Yeah, but am I pretty coherent for someone who's had 6 hours of sleep in the last 48
Very
hours?
coherent for 6 over 48. Like that's you were seeming cogent. What I wanted to say was the thing that I've noticed about Scottie, and I think it's been an issue for a bit, is he has a tendency to get cut on. So in the last 2 games that I've logged quietly on mute that I've been watching, I was able to log about 6 possessions where he's not necessarily ball watching, but he's trying to process the court so he can rotate and help, and he misses the action that he's supposed currently in, or he gets cut on. And it happened twice in the first half today, and then I think only once in the second half. But it's a strange one because usually to me the elite helpers in the NBA, their growing pains tend to be on ball defense, or they tend to be kind of fouling. I think fouling is a huge one for a lot of great helpers, early at least. This is an interesting one. Usually guys don't miss this. One of the solutions I thought about was maybe relying a bit more on his athletic gifts. I feel like he plays a lot of players too true, almost like a good boy would. That's a normal size, like a guy who's 6'3" and 190 would, not a 6'8" 245er. So if he would sink a couple more inches and let his natural gifts help him on closeouts and help him avoid getting back cut and allow more face cuts, because face cuts I think he can cover with his size. I would prefer something like that. The other point was 6 stocks, and it could have been 7 because I kind of think that transition one was a block.
Yeah, I think so too. He was pretty crazy about it. I think look, man, his attention can sometimes go in and out. And if the attention goes out, there isn't a hell of a lot behind him to block him. People get cut all the time. There's usually some help at the rim. We've had Pascal Siakam and nobody else. And Jakob Poeltl is okay. He's better than nothing, but he's not the greatest rim protector. He's a smart communicator.
Half a season last year in San Antonio, he was. For half a season in San Antonio, his rim protection numbers were bonkers. His rim protection numbers were bonkers in San Antonio. I think it was either the first half of last year or the second half of the year before. It was the second half of
the year before. The last year was not great, and people were like, okay, well, maybe it's just because he's in a losing situation. Maybe bring him to the Raptors, and they continued to stay kind of not so great. And the recovery, if I think of a player like Nick Claxton playing behind a Scottie Barnes, like a disruptive wing defender being flanked by an elite shot blocker like that to me is oh, these two are going to pin someone together at the board once, So he's a very interesting defender in that he's very toolsy. He's got long arms. He's very disruptive. And, once Jakob Poeltl had the perfect response saying what is it like to play against Scottie Barnes? And Jakob has this very funny Austrian way about him where he's very honest. And he just said, it's annoying. It's just annoying.
It's a good way of putting it.
He is so annoying to play defense against, right? To play offense against. But I will tell you, in a playoff series or a really important game, he's dialed in so hard. I think what this fan base sometimes can be a little bit hot and cold with Scottie is how do you go through a quarter the way he went through the first quarter defensively,
right?
And then how do you do what you did in the third quarter? And I think the answer to that would be, well, how would any human being do what he did in the third quarter for 4 quarters? you would die for
Yeah.
37 minutes. Like nobody does this. Like we have Trae Young falling asleep on the court with like night light, you know, like gets back cut like 500 times a game.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton can't guard his shadow. Like they put him on low usage wings and then, you know, scrambling for help.
Yep.
You know, it's not normal for someone to operate at his level of usage. And the versatility argument, like he was our best matchup against Andre Drummond and Zach LaVine today.
Yeah, I've two.
How do you make sense of that? Can you think of another? Can you think of another defender that would be your best matchup on Andre Drummond and Andre Drummond and Zach LaVine? Like probably you're talking like very rare air. You're talking Draymond. You're talking Draymond, Dennis Rodman, prime Pippen, prime Ben Simmons. It's like 8 guys.
Yeah,
8 guys.
It's a short list.
Yeah. And so, so I'm not saying he's on the level of those guys defensively. I am saying, however, that the versatility argument, the disruptive argument, I think he just needs a more functional role on defense. And he had that role early this season. So if you do want to watch like some tape of him, go watch like the first 7 games. I think you get like defensively, it was elite defensive, like elite. And you know, like I don't know how much you trust EPM, but like he was 3rd or 2nd in defensive EPM for those 7-8 games, and it was earned. All of it was earned. I was like, oh my god, is he turning into like a defensive player of the year right now?
So I think
it fell off after that
defensive progression, you will see rebound in the second half of the year. I think the idea behind having Quickley, Barrett.
Sorry, this comment is just hilarious, bro.
That's funny. That's really funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, go ahead.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no. I think the idea of having Quickley and Barrett is to shoulder those primary ball handling duties and to suck some of that mental drain off of Scottie and let him. And like I said, in yesterday's stream, reacting to the trade, I would expect the most growth for Scottie in the second half of the season to be on defense, because despite the offensive stuff that's going to be happening and how fun it's going to be, with the best lineup that the Raptors can run, it's going to ask a lot of Scottie as a backline rotator and a backline communicator. And I think that
it's a lot less exhausting for him to be, you know, free safety in the backline or even rover, kind of like roaming, you know, the passing lanes. I feel like that's a lot less taxing on your legs than to be POA. chasing point of attack or you know I just think like I've watched games close into the 4th quarter last year where I could legitimately say Scottie was probably guarding 3 people at once. He can like the way he covers court.
I'm sure he can.
The
and
covers,
I think I want to see that be the ask from him or upon him, because as much as I like the offense, and what I liked a lot about the offense today was, how did you feel about the Scottie at the 5 minutes?
Scottie at the 5?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were some minutes where there was essentially nobody.
Yeah, like there was like 4 guards in him. Like 4 small guards in him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was Gary, Bruce Brown, Dennis Schroder, Emmanuel Quickley.
Yeah, and I literally like I was like, what? Who just subbed in for who? And
so,
I was like, wait, what?
do you remember during our conversation I said there's like a lot of Jokic tendencies? That was the Jokic tendency, yeah. So I mean, look, like I personally like, in that moment, and if Scottie was a Jokic level rebounder, that lineup might have actually floated. Like, you know,
and that lineup was not as bad. I thought they were going to get.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah,
it wasn't that bad because what happened was, and the big of it was Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown was working really well with him in a way that you and I so clearly and obviously.
So imagine if Bruce Brown in that moment, like let's just say you could replace Gary Trent Jr. No, let's not take. Let's say you could replace Dennis Schroder in that lineup with Aaron Gordon. Now that line is fucking awesome, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like the Raptors are so close.
Your equivalent. I mean, not to
Aaron Gordon,
not the same basketball player, but in order to supplement the size while still having the spacing and connective kind of vibes.
Yeah. I like that Jonte pulled, the three. He was a really big catalyst for that turnaround. When the Raptors started to dig themselves into a hole, he came out and was just like, boom, I'm going to take these threes. And you can tell he really stepped into it. I think like the previous caller, I think Florian brought up like RJ's assertiveness on offense. And if I have an issue with like his high usage, and I'm just like, you know what? No, I don't
Let
care.
him, like,
Yeah.
I think the thing is, a lot of people don't watch a ton of high school or college basketball, and so they're relatively unfamiliar with who RJ Barrett has been. And like, the best way I can put it is this: RJ Barrett has an argument to be the greatest high school basketball player that has ever lived, and his accolades scream it. And some of his play might not hold up to the LeBron tapes and a lot of that stuff. Of course not. It's LeBron James and all those other great high school
Greatest
players.
high school player of all time? No.
The accolades
are amazing. But
the accolades are beyond amazing. And so what I'm trying to say is, when you have a guy who has gained recognition like that for playing a certain type of way, I think it is interesting to try and expect such a quick divergence from that, because he's still only 24, 25 years old.
He's played third fiddle to Julius Randle, and so the question then becomes, is like, do you have the same respect for Scottie Barnes as you did for Julius Randle and a Jalen Brunson? And it's like, question is unquestionable. You should have more. So it's also weird because Scottie's younger than him. Number one, he's really young. He's 23.
He's 22.
So you're asking
23.
Yeah. So you're asking someone who's 23 to take a backseat to someone who's 22, which is, like, what? I played this guy and I whooped him in high school. He was younger than me, and now what are you asking me to do? So I think hopefully they can just succeed in different ways, because I don't think that Nikola Jokic ever
coexist.
And Nikola Jokic never competes with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. So why should Scott?
Never. Yeah.
I mean, anyway, Sahill. Yeah. I want to wrap this up, and then we're gonna go to the post game lives, and then I'm gonna call it a night.
Cool. Yeah. No. 100%. Last, I just wanted to leave you with a question, and I'll pop out of here. The Gary Trent shooting stuff. I think yesterday's game, I saw the vision of having a movement type shooter with Scottie, as long as his name isn't really Gary Trent. So I'm interested to see a guy like him or whoever else. Yeah, like those spacer mover kind of guys would be really interesting to me. By the way, I think Clax might be out of your guys' price range, if I'm being honest. I think Clax is a little too good.
3 first-round picks?
No, I know, but I'm going to be honest, with the way Brooklyn chats about their basketball players, I think they're legit going to just wait till there's no value left. Like, they're asking for like 5 for Mikal. Clax and Mikal are not that far apart. I think they'll ask for 4 for Clax. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on there. I have no clue.
They would trade Mikal Bridges for 4 first-round picks?
No, they said no to 4 first-round picks. They said no to 4. Psychopathy. It's psychopathic. Like, no way on earth do you say no to 4 FRPs for Mikal. It just doesn't make sense. Even if they're late picks, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Peace out. Thanks a lot for talking. Thanks popping in. See ya. Bye. Callers have been awesome today. We heard from Florian. We heard from Sahill. We got a lot of good stuff there. Y'all talking about my sleep. Chill about my sleep. Don't worry. I am. Do you remember the part that I told you before, that I used to work like 40, 50 hours in high school? Yeah, I made it work. And by the way, I don't look 100 years old either. So clearly, like, I'm alive. Don't worry about it. I smoked for like most of my life, and I don't sleep very much, and I'm not the super healthiest person. And somehow we're doing this. Because why? Because I have a purpose and a plan and a mission, and I'm on it. And my mission is to consume as much basketball content. Look, man, honestly, I think if you're a creative person out there, totally unsolicited advice for creative people out there, sometimes it's like when you get to that sleep threshold that you start to unlock creativity. You won't be super well spoken, you won't be as smooth, and clearly if I do these lives on 10 hours of sleep, I'm going to be a lot more articulate. I'm probably going to be a lot more lucid with my thoughts and direct. But sometimes you get, like, for instance, yesterday, like we did that 5.5 hour live, I was super tired. We got into a total philosophical, conversation, which was like, I don't think if I'm not tired, I even have that conversation. I probably would have cut it off at some point. So I don't know. I'm not suggesting don't sleep. Sleep is very, very important. But yeah, anyways, let's bring this on.
Welcome to Toronto, first of all, and maybe just share a little bit of what this was like the last 24 hours.
Kind of crazy. I was in SAC when I got the phone call, walking into we were about to go practice. So I had to, take my stuff off, go to my room, pack up, fly to Indy last night, got in at I think 1. And then I had a flight this morning, got here at 1 o'clock, and I had to do all the physicals and stuff. So I was on the move all day. I didn't even know I was going to play today, but they asked me and I was ready.
What's it like playing with a bunch of guys who you probably never met? Don't even know all their names.
Yeah, I don't know any of the plays. I don't know much, so I was just kind of trying to be in the right spots, try to make an imprint on the game on the defensive end, trying to get some steals. And then me and Scottie, I was setting screens and rolling like I was in Brooklyn again, so it worked, so I kept doing it.
Did you know that Darko actually studied your game the way you cut?
I did not. He told me a few years ago that he did. He looked at who was the best cutters in the league, and I was one. And I told him I was the best cutter in the league just because I played with great players at the time, so I had to figure out what worked and what kept me on the floor.
Sorry, go ahead. That was something that you really worked tonight. A lot of intuitive stuff, slipping on the screens, finding the backdoor stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where my shots are going to be. In Indy, I knew exactly where my shots were going to be. So now I'm still trying to figure out the offense. I'm trying to learn the guys' games and where I can impact offensively.
What were your impressions when you found out about the trade and found out you were coming to Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto's a great city. When I've been here, I've had a great time. It's obviously a bigger city than Indy. But definitely different, like going to a different country and then packing all my stuff. As I said, I was talking to Jordan Nwora, this is my 4th team in 3 years. So I feel like I've been moving every few months. So I'm kind of used to getting up and going now.
Do you know any of the guys on the team well, or?
Not really well. Obviously playing against them, I know. Me and Dennis were in a great series last year in the Western Conference Finals. I know Scottie a little bit just because I went to Miami and they were recruiting him when he was young. So I got to get to know more of the guys.
There's the exception of the vets, obviously, in the room.
Yeah, GT old.
Yeah,
Thaddeus old. Yeah, I know.
With the exception of those guys, it's a pretty young team. You're an old 27 coming in. How much do you think your experience, and specifically your championship experience, can help some of these younger guys?
I think it can help a lot. Just like I did in Indy. I just try to share all the information that I got with the guys. Just me going to the finals and winning the finals last year. Whatever they need to know, I'll let them know. But I'm not gonna at first. I gotta get to know the guys, know their personality. I'm not gonna just be not myself up front. So just trying to get to know everyone and get comfortable.
From afar, what has been your view of Scottie's game? And I know.
Yeah, Scottie is a dog. Yeah, Scottie's a dog. He's a top tier superstar in this league. Can do everything. Last year he didn't shoot the ball well. This year you got to respect it. And he gets anywhere he wants. He can guard 1 through 5. So I think he's a superstar in this league for sure.
What was the conversation with Jonte like about the jersey number?
It really wasn't. So MPJ hit me, his brother on Instagram. It was like, congrats. And I was like, I looked at the available numbers, and I never wore any of those in my life. So I was like, I make enough to try to bribe him a little bit. So I asked MPJ if Jonte would give it up. He reached out, and Jonte said, yeah. So I'm thankful.
Any dollar figure you can disclose?
Yeah, I gave him 10. I gave him 10. I thought he was gonna ask for more. So I gave him 10. He said yes, and I was like, cool. $10K. 10K. You got it.
How hard is it going to be able to put an impression on a team in 41 games for you?
How hard? Honestly, I don't think it's going to be hard for me. The way I play is extremely hard. I've never really had a coach or teammates not like the way I play on both ends of the floor. So for me, I don't think it'd be hard at all.
You've played with a ton of really good players.
Mm-hmm.
Are there parts of Scottie's games that remind you of, or Scottie's game that reminds you of other players? He's totally different.
I gotta. I mean, obviously play more with him. I didn't watch him much outside of playing against him. So if you have that question for me in 3 weeks, I'll let you know.
When you are preparing like a scout, maybe
that was like a bait for like, give me a Jokic or Tyrese Halliburton quote to fill up my, like, I got to tell you, it's really funny because he's talking to a room of people that legitimately think Scottie is Draymond Green. They still can't wrap their head around it. I promise you, I've had enough conversations about these people and with these people to know that they don't think about Scottie the way he thinks about Scottie, but they do think about him in really high regard. So it's one thing when Darko, like some guy that they maybe don't know too well, haven't covered for years or whatever, comes out and says it. They're just like, oh yeah, he's just a coach. He's supposed to say this. But when he says it, like, and they'll probably like wash over it because Masai says it. Cause like, I guess some of these people have been like, Masai just says anything. But when an outsider comes in and says he's a top tier superstar to the face of people who think he's Draymond Green, it's amazing. Love this. It's 11:51. Vote.nba.com. Vote for Scottie Barnes. I know he's not top 10 right now, but maybe we can push it for 4 days. Some miraculous effort. Maybe just a whole bunch of people saw this game tonight and they're like, I want to start voting for this guy. This guy's really friggin' awesome. He just played on TNT. Vote.nba.com. Vote for Scottie Barnes, bro. Okay.
It's not as deep as some assistant coaches, but when you come to a new team, do you tell guys like, hey, like in the scout, I was trying to exploit this from a defensive perspective?
Say it again?
When you come to a new team, you come new teammates, but you played against them before, like you said, you had battled.
Oh yeah, so what I was doing against.
You say like, this is what I was trying to take away from.
No, not really. I mean, we played them so long ago, so you kind of play one game and then you forget about it until we play them again, So not really.
Scottie, when you were at training camp, let's just say, and we would have said to you that OG wouldn't be here, Pascal wouldn't be here, pretty much you're the focus of so many things around this team going forward. What would you have said? How would you reacted to that?
I think we already knew really what the focus was, but just knowing that somebody would tell me that those players was going to be here, I would have probably told them to be quiet, like be quiet type stuff like that. But, I wouldn't believe them. But okay, where we at right now.
And do you feel ready to kind of be, a guy who's really, as you go, this franchise is going to go, really?
I think we've been set up from day one. That they try to build around me and, start off with me from there. So that ain't nothing new.
So here's the funny thing. The conversation around him internally, from his camp to his trainer to, well, basically this community, has always been that this is going to be Scottie's team. He's a superstar. He said it in year one, said it in year two. Even when we were struggling last year, this is going to be his team. Build around him. The funny thing is, the media still has not caught on to this. So when they were pushing for trade him for Dame, trade him for KD, trade him for whatever, they just missed like what this was about. I think it's just really messed up. Personally, I just don't get it. I've never seen a media do this to a player. I don't want to get all emotional and like pissed off about it, but I just hope that they can use this game and hopefully like for the next 41 games, they can correct and they can stop doing what they've been doing. Just personally, like I would like them to just support this instead of tear it down, because it's a beautiful thing and like you should support this.
Someone was asking you what your leadership style is.
Shut up.
You know, I come in every single day with a smile on my face. You know, I'm a great teammate, joyful person to be around. Try to play hard. Feel like you just see me out there on the floor. You know, I'm just trying to keep everybody together, keep everybody happy.
Does that smile and that joy get translated to teammates, do you feel?
I don't know. Are they smiling and happy? I ask them.
That's funny.
Is it going to be weird on Saturday going up against OG?
Yeah, it is, you know. Of course, I miss my boy, but, you know, it's going to be crazy seeing him in New Jersey. I was just somebody, you know, seeing him in New Jersey, it's going to be different.
So I know I'm sure you've gone up against him in practice. How difficult of a he's probably going to go up against you. How difficult of a defender in a matchup is he?
I'm not worried about that, man. I'm at him. Nah, it's going to be fun. Still just got to try to go out there and win the game. But, you know, he's a great defender. Game plan, just got to execute our game plan and whatever they bring to the table.
Bruce seemed like, weird day, wild day for him. Barely knew any of you guys and, you know, connected with you for a few times. What was it like playing with him up there?
You know, Bruce went to he went to Miami, so, you know, that's that Florida connection right there. But, you know, Miami was never as good as Florida State, but, you know, anyways, you know, he played really well, great defender, strong, knows how to really play the game. So, you know, he just came in and made an instant impact, found a little connection there towards the end of the game, and it worked out really well.
You know, if they did give me a media pass, and I want to be honest with this community, I did not push for a media pass this year. Personally, I think I kind of self-rejected myself. I reached out to one company and I was like, if you hire me, will you get me a media pass? And they're just like, what's your obsession with the media pass? And I was just like, I want to ask these questions and these questions. And they're just like, I don't know. That might be controversial. We might lose our media pass if you start asking your questions. Here's what I would ask right now. And it would shut up the room. Here's the question that I would ask. After the game, do you intend to sign your jersey to OG and wish him a championship? That's what I would ask. And then everyone would just be like, fuck this guy.
You did. Andre Drummond's nickname is the Big Penguin. Is that what your celebration was after the end line?
I don't know why I did that, to be honest. I didn't even know that was his nickname. I guess. I saw it after that people were saying that, but I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I did it. I just did it.
Pull something out like that on OG. If you got like, would you have something planned for him?
I don't know. We'll see. You know, things just happened in the moment. And that was one of those things just happened. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know why I did it. I just did it.
When did those conversations about like making you kind of the guy for this organization?
Oh my God, shut up, Florian.
You mentioned that that's not something, you know, a surprise to you now. When did that start?
I think we've all been vocal about it. At that media today, when y'all talked to them, been having those conversations with them for a while. Yeah.
Like did it start this year? Is that what you're sort of saying?
I guess. I don't know.
No, it started in rookie season,
been
dummy.
The thing around. Everybody been knowing that, but you know, I just feel like
I've been knowing it.
It's been that point.
Scottie, another good fourth quarter for you today. I'm just wondering, is there like a mental switch you have going into the fourth quarter to be like, the game's on the line, I gotta level up?
Like I said, I've been saying I'm just trying to win. We found things that was working and we stuck to it. I made some really good plays, had some turnovers, but, just growing.
How do you feel your role sort of in the fourth quarter in those late and close games changes without a guy like Pascal here?
It's been like that. Some fourth quarters you see me do really well, just being able to find those mismatches and being able to be in that attack mode. But it just all trying to win, come down to it at the end of the day, just trying to win.
Scottie, Vince Carter got a big ovation. Obviously, you had that moment a few years ago when he sort of announced Rookie of the Year for you. What was it like seeing that ovation and reception that he got from the crowd?
I didn't really see it. I heard it. I didn't really see it. I think I was really locked into the game. But seeing Vince, Vince, I always see him in Orlando when I used to be down there in high school. I see him down there. Sometimes I go to my friend's house down in Orlando. Just seeing Vince, it brings a smile to my face. Somebody that's been doing it for a while. Someone that has so much respect in his game. One day I'm trying to get in the gym with him one day, work on my game with him.
When it comes to the pick and roll, just in like the statistics, you've made a big jump this year. From the eye test, it looks a lot better. When you're running that action, what do you think about your game from last year to this year changed to allow you to be so much more effective in it?
Probably just being in it more. I feel like I'm more in those situations. Rather than last year, I'll be in it some, but not really that much. I feel like just being able to get more reps into it, it just helps me do better, be more confident, find out those situations, and then me being able to just, orchestrate it. Finding people out on the court, whichever matchup I like, it helps as well. Last year, you'll have the ball, that's how the key, and it'll just be like a design play, but me more orchestrating who I want in the pick and roll and being able to find those mismatches, and that's how I attack it.
Media day, Darko talked about how excited he was to put you more in those positions. Are those conversations you guys had prior to the season, like you can expect more of this, we're going to help you this way?
Yeah, for sure. We still have those conversations. Just being able to put me in those positions and growing from it and learning from it, and keep watching film and just keep trying to get better.
On the other side, you're having a career year defensively too, and tonight it was 3 steals, 3 blocks, right? You just able to kind of cook as the low man. I'm wondering, when it comes to having that approach defensively, how are you able to balance the offensive side of the ball with being active on the defensive end?
On the defensive end, I'm just trying to be aggressive, guard the rim, protect the paint. Just trying to find those opportunities where I'm able to be aggressive and be able to guard the paint as well at the same time. Since some changes, have made, guarding those best players, it takes a lot of energy. But just trying to find it out of me to play with both sides. I feel like I'm ready for it, and I'm taking on the challenge each and every single game.
Really negated their size by going small there, but I think they had 74 points in the paint. That kind of was the difference, right?
Yeah, that was the biggest difference in the game. We were able to do a good job, keeping them off the glass for the majority of the game there. But they beat us off the dribble. They went to the rim quite easily, and something that we are trying to build on defense, and that's that physicality and then 2 slides and make them go lateral. We did not do a good job tonight with that. It came down to allowing them 38 points in a first quarter. That's where everything started. Start of the game, we missed, I believe, 6 or 7 straight threes that were good open shots, and it just spiraled with us, affected our defense there. We found a way to get back in the game, and we just did not do a great job executing down the stretch. A couple of turnovers and missed shots that decided the winner.
How much did you have to simplify to be able to use Bruce for 25? He might not know of his game.
Yeah, I mean, we're really trying to simplify offensively there. Like for him, go stay in the corner, go set a pick and roll. It's literally like basic instructions. So there, thank God he's smart player, and he's not playing basketball for the first time. So he was able to find some rhythm there, especially in the second half, and to help us in the second half.
Did those cuts look familiar to you?
Some of them, I expect more of those to come. When we get a chance to practice and get a chance to actually to script a little bit our offense, so actually he knows what we're doing out there and what we're trying to create.
You guys tried a few different things in the pick and roll defensively, like the hedging, drop, and switching. When you're running through a bunch of those different things, are you looking for more punch at the point of attack? Or are you expecting a little bit more from the back end rotations to kind of keep things clean?
Depending what coverage is, if you're more aggressive, if you putting two on the ball, then you need to rely on the backside to protect all of those roles. If you're more in mode that you're switching 1 through 5, then you're trying to keep body on body and not allow those slip outs and easy rolls. I thought that we did a good job when they were posting up just to get the ball out of their hands and go rotate. But we opened up, we did not allow them that first initial attack that was post-ups for DeRozan or Vucevic, but after that it opened up some driving lanes for them.
In the past, in crunch time, you guys have kind of given the ball to Pascal and allowed him to do his thing. How do you see Scottie's role change?
That's not even fucking true. That's not really even true, is it? That's just cap. That's bullshit. Revoke that man's media pass. It's craziness.
In sort of those moments when he's now the go-to guy, and the defense knows that.
It's the beauty of being number one guy. That's the beauty of learning how to play, how to handle those situations. Tonight the hard part is we did not finish with Ted Young or with John Ted position 5. So he was initiating offense with the ball, but now we were trying to bring some of the guards to set pick and rolls. And I thought that a couple of times with those pick and rolls that he had with Bruce, opened up a drive, opened up a short roll, opened up stuff for there. But it's also going to be for the whole team to learn what the spacing needs to be. I thought that we threw a couple of bad passes tonight, looking for the right solution. We just did not execute it well. But it's going to be a learning process. Also with Scottie setting screens and him in pick and rolls with RJ and then Quickley and Dennis is going to be something that we got to take a look at more.
Great stuff. These questions drive me crazy. Every game, it's like there's this arduous process of going through these silly ass questions. Sometimes the questions are just, they're so misguided, and I get it. There has to be consistency of stream of thought, right? Like, for instance, I've been trying to tell y'all that this is who he is for 2 years on this channel. That's been the central focus. Now, what if right now we find out that's not who he is? Nope. He's not going to be that good. He's not going to be good at all. I can tell you he's a great teammate. What if we find out he's not a great teammate? How do I pivot is the question, right? How do I pivot without losing my audience is the question. How do I write for a national newspaper every single day and say this guy is basically a glorified role player that the Raptors, are trying to project into some sort of star? There's always like this condescension when addressing him. And if you have even an ounce of understanding of how people speak about things they're passionate about versus things that they're dispassionate about, there's always this notion that he's gotten something that he didn't earn. They've always tried to project this, and it really drives me mad because it's just like last year. It's like, who the fuck are you to say he didn't earn it? What did Cade earn? What did Jalen Green earn? Did Michael Jordan earn to be the face of the Chicago Bulls the second he was a rookie? You might say, well, that's Michael Jordan. Well, I'll say, well, this is Scottie Barnes. There is a conversation that needs to be had. And unfortunately, the way stories work is you have to guide people from point A to point B, right? So if you want to explain if you want to go and talk about how terrible his work ethic is all year, and then he makes this gigantic jump as a player, then how do you explain it? Well, one way you could do it, and let's just say I was a person saying last year, let's say I was these people, I would probably bridge the gap between Scottie Barnes, lazy bum who doesn't work hard, has attitude issues, doesn't really want to be great, kind of going to be a Draymond Green type. I'd be like, well, this is unprecedented. It's a black swan event. Never seen anything like this before. This is crazy. No one saw this coming. I would make sure that there was like a consensus in my community that no, I'm not stupid. Nobody in the world saw this coming. Nobody, not Masai. No, not Darko. No, not all the players, who were saying he was going to be great. No. Not the people who saw him at FSU, not the coach who Leonard Hamilton compared him to Magic Johnson / Scottie Pippen. No one saw this coming. For real? Brian Macon, his trainer, last year in the midst of this terrible, terrible stretch of basketball that he was playing, said, I asked him straight up, top 25 player all time. He said, no cap. No one saw this coming. I devoted an entire channel to helping this guy and not assisting, but really supporting his growth towards superstardom. No one saw this coming. And now it's like, you got to make the jump because otherwise your audience is going to think you're an idiot, which they should, because you are. You need to accept when you're wrong, but you don't have to always invent some sort of like conspiracy about why you're wrong, or like some sort of, you can just be like, yo, I was just fucking wrong. This guy's like trumping any expectations I would have had of him. I'm really, really impressed. This guy's amazing. And just move on then. But every single time they address his success, they always have to remind us of the failure, which is what I think is really just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that these people who make money really covering him, because this is really like a vulture thing. They don't play basketball. We don't have content. Isn't that fair? So I don't know. Whatever it is about him, his mumbling responses, that's just him being real. Maybe he's not comfortable, as talking in front of the media as Fred was, right? Maybe. Why is that such a bad thing? I want my basketball players to be good at basketball, bro. I don't need them to be good at being politicians. But maybe not every superstar is going to be as refined on the microphone as Michael Jordan and Fred VanVleet. Okay. Some of them are just, Kevin Durant had a lot of mumbling responses early in his career. It certainly didn't stop him from being a great basketball player. Just saying. We had one more caller, is Jace, but he's gone now. So honestly, bro, they all sound weird to me. Vince was not treated well by the media here either. I agree. Vince was not either, because once they found out, again, there's like a diaper dandies or like unearned, thing here. Like, who is he to demand this, and who is he to demand that, and who's he? Like, he's a mama's boy because he wanted to attend his graduation. These guys, weirdly enough, they tie everything back to what they would do in their situation, but they've never been in their situation, so they don't know. And I, again, like, yeah, I don't want to get into the whole, like, I love Vince Carter because he went to his graduation. Fuck everyone who thinks otherwise. But I do love Vince Carter because he went to his graduation. It was a really, really good message to receive as a child that education is very important. I shudder to think how many kids out there took their education more seriously. You know how popular an athlete he was and how big a story that was? How many kids saw a superstar athlete at the peak of his powers choose to attend his graduation, talk about how important that graduation was to him? How many people took education more seriously? What was the impact of that decision? I would love to know. But I'll tell you this, like, if you're like a clean-minded person, I don't know how you could have a problem with Scottie Barnes. I really don't. I'll never understand it. It's never shocked me when the Raptors bring in someone that I really, really like Otto Porter or Bruce Brown. Like, they're just immediately like, yep, I love this guy. Yeah. Michael, calling tonight. My friends, Rob, get some sleep, please. Great show today as usual. Thank you, bro. Yeah. That's funny. That's really funny. How do you come up with the hinge? Yeah, the questions. Anyways, I want to thank y'all for giving us our most successful month ever. And we are literally 12 days away, 13 days away from the end of the month. That's super cool. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Finally getting the live. That's going to be under 2 hours. That's awesome. Have a good night. And yeah, hope for a Raptors win on Saturday.